Good morning. We are honored to have our guest, and I will introduce him to you, is Dayalan Govender. He's the Director of Engagement at a partner at PwC. The purpose of this bonbon this morning is, Dayalan, is to tap into your expertise and your knowledge and experience, not just in South Africa, but also in Africa, because you have extensively done some work in countries like Kenya, Mauritius, Uganda, Tanzania, and Namibia. So, first of all, I want to introduce and ask you a question that organizational leaders in Africa often neglect the fields of human resource management and organizational development. What is your opinion in this of this statement?
No, great. Thanks, Prof, and thank you for having me on this bonbon. I think there's a couple of comments that I'd like to make. I think you're quite right. It's an area that's been neglected from a people workforce perspective, as well as from an OD organizational design perspective. I think what I've seen across Africa is that many organizations see it as a responsibility of the HR function, whereas people management and the whole organization is a business imperative. It's the responsibility of leaders to also drive that agenda and take responsibility and ownership on that one.
As you are aware, Dayalan, the UN Agenda 230 SDGs and the AAU Agenda 2063 strategies are asking for impactful engagement in Africa, including the socio-economic development of people, to make things work. Firstly, I want to ask you, in your opinion, how are business leaders ensuring impactful engagement in developing Africa as a continent?
Excellent. I think a very relevant question. And we've seen a lot of legislation that's existing in South Africa, across Africa. But I think it's bigger than legislation. If we look at King 4 in terms of corporate governance, there's a due responsibility for organizations to contribute not just to the bottom line in terms of growing their business, but also in terms of how they contribute towards socio-economic development across in their respective countries and across Africa. We're seeing a lot of leaders being proactive in that instances, but that's unfortunately the minority, and a lot of leaders seeing that as a second thought or afterthought. There is definitely a big need for them to start focusing on seeing how they contribute towards, for me, it's around growing the economy in their respective countries. It's around social development. It's around the whole workforce and the people. And then the final one is around the environment. What are they doing, significantly to contribute towards a cleaner, safer environment as well?
And you've mentioned previously, and also in the lecture this morning, it's about purpose. What is the purpose of the organization? It's not the bottom line business of being profitable, but how do they contribute to the development of communities? How do they impact the environment? Dayalan, I want to ask you another question. What 3 people development aspects can you share with us today that, if business leaders in Africa embrace them, will ensure more relevance, have an impact, and make a better contribution to its sustainability in Africa?
I think there's obviously many areas that one needs to focus, but if I had to prioritize 3 areas, I think the first one is around the whole notion of upskilling. We've moved into the 4th industrial revolution in terms of, we've seen lots of technological development changes around digital, and the whole notion about being relevant for the future. So leaders need to look at what is the focus for them as a business to be relevant, and it's really looking at how they upskill and reskill their people to have the necessary skills and competencies. The second thing is around EVP. It's the employee value proposition. We've done a huge survey as well, and what we find that people, and you touched on purpose, people are looking for purpose, not just about getting higher salaries. They want their purpose to align with the organization. So organizations need to relook at what is their employee value proposition, what makes the employees tick. So that's the second one. And for me, I think the third one is, which is an area which has been grossly neglected, is around measuring performance. And I'm of the opinion that what you don't measure doesn't often get managed. So you need to put a laser focus. But a lot of the ways organizations have been managing performance or measuring performance has been in a very input or output manner. They need to change the whole focus around what kind of outcomes are you looking for, and what is the impact you're creating, not just for the business, but in terms of society and the environment. So those are 3 areas, Prof, I think that will be useful.
My last question to you is, what are the most significant trends and changes in the future of work? And how should management and or leaders respond to that? What are the trends and that they should take cognizance of, and how should they respond to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think there's also a couple of areas. I think in terms of how the workforce is changing, I mean, I did say in the lecture that in 2030, Africa will have the most youthful population. Almost 48% will be youth between the ages of 18 and 24 compared to any other continent across the globe. So it's important for us to be mindful about what does it mean for businesses, what it does mean for government, what does it mean for society. So that's the first thing. I think also in terms of the mindset of employees have changed. They are becoming, let's use the word, more demanding in terms of the ways of working, the flexibility, the mobility, the opportunities. So we need to look at that. And I think without a shadow of doubt, I mean, in terms of the rate of digitization, in terms of technological developments, every organization, irrespective of which industry, needs to embrace and see how do we get our people to work hand in hand with technology and use it as an enabler rather than seeing it in a fearful manner of it coming about to take away jobs. So those are the three things I think which are quite relevant and organizations need to start looking at. But the final thing is that we often look at leadership in organizations as being the mighty glory people that are not humans, but they're very human. So it's important for organizations to start looking after the leaders because they weren't built to be resilient with what COVID has done. So it is important that a big focus should be on the leadership in terms of their own well-being and their own mindset as well.
The perception is if leaders are not healthy and if they are not well, then the organizations is also not well. So it's important. But thank you for your pointers and your inputs this morning, and really we appreciate your relationship with our university and especially with the business school. Thank you very much. As I've said, we have an ongoing relationship and we will tap into your expertise and knowledge in future, and thank you for your contribution. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Dalian.